Welcome back to Pages of the Heart. I'm Cassidy, and together with Hope, we're exploring Chapter 8 of A Winter Promise, A Flicker of Faith. And friends, this chapter delivers the joyous confirmation of Clara's pregnancy alongside escalating tension. Traditional craftsmanship versus industrial efficiency. It's a battle as old as the steam engine. But what happens when that conflict becomes deeply personal, threatening not just livelihoods, but the very fabric of family and community?
You know what fascinates me most about this story? How it captures that precise moment when personal joy collides with community crisis.
The way the pregnancy reveal unfolds really demonstrates masterful storytelling. Margaret noticing those subtle signs, just like she'd seen with her friend Alice in Chicago. It's those small details that make historical fiction feel so authentic.
Speaking of historical authenticity, the medical details are fascinating. In the 1920s, pregnancy confirmation was still largely based on observation and experience rather than the tests we have today.
That really adds weight to Dr. Campbell's careful examination scene, doesn't it? And when he confirms everything appears strong and healthy this time, it carries such emotional resonance given the high infant mortality rates of the era.
The historical context makes Nathan's reaction even more powerful. That image of him bracing against the doorframe, barely able to stand. In an era when men were expected to maintain strict composure, it's such a vulnerable moment.
Well, what strikes me is how quickly the story pivots from this deeply personal joy to the broader conflict. Edward's arrival on the evening train represents this unstoppable march of industrialization that was transforming American communities in the 1920s.
Hmm, that's such an interesting parallel. The factory proposal promising weekly wages and steam powered innovation really echoes the actual historical tensions between traditional craftsmen and the rise of mass production.
You know, it reminds me of how the arts and crafts movement emerged specifically in response to industrialization. When Mrs. Henderson brings that wooden box Nathan carved, it's like seeing those same values of handcraft and artistic integrity that William Morris championed.
The legal strategy feels surprisingly modern too, framing their defense around cultural preservation rather than just economics. It's similar to how contemporary artisans have to justify their work's value beyond pure efficiency.
And that 48-hour timeline? It perfectly captures how industrialization compressed time itself. Traditional craftsmen who thought in seasons and years suddenly had to adapt to the rhythm of steam engines and factory whistles.
The symbolism of that recurring snow angel takes on such deeper meaning when you consider Victorian attitudes toward divine providence and human industry.
Well, speaking of Victorian attitudes, the subtle romantic tension between Margaret and Andrew Bennett reflects the period's shifting views on marriage and personal fulfillment. Their ink stained hands, marking them as conspirators, suggests both professional and emotional liberation.
That's exactly what makes this story so compelling, how it weaves together personal transformation with broader social change.
The apprenticeship aspect really resonates with historical patterns, too. In an era when formal education was becoming standardized, Peter's determination to learn traditional craftsmanship represents this powerful countercurrent.
So, what do you make of the brothers' reconciliation in this context? Their father's teachings about balance and collaboration seem almost prophetic, given how industrialization would eventually transform family businesses.
Well, it's fascinating because historically, many family businesses did try to find that balance, incorporating some new methods while preserving traditional skills. The brothers' story reflects that very real struggle to adapt without losing their essence.
The stakes feel so much higher knowing that by the early 1900s, most small scale furniture makers had either modernized or disappeared entirely.
You know what makes this chapter particularly powerful? It's showing us that moment of choice, when communities had to decide what they valued most. The factory vote isn't just about progress versus tradition. It's about what kind of future they want to create.
The timing of Clara's pregnancy adds such poignancy to that choice. They're literally fighting for their child's inheritance, both material and cultural.
Looking ahead, I think this story captures something timeless about how communities face change. Sometimes the most valuable things, craftsmanship, relationships, cultural heritage, are worth fighting for, even against seemingly impossible odds.
Well, that's what makes this chapter so relevant today. we're still grappling with similar questions about progress, preservation, and what we risk losing in the rush toward efficiency.
Every generation faces its own version of this struggle, finding that delicate balance between embracing the new while honoring what deserves to be preserved. Thanks for joining us on Pages of the Heart. Be sure to follow us and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's chapter, a quick rating or review goes a long way in helping more listeners find us. Until next time, thanks for listening.